I never thought a house could feel like a heartbeat, but mine did. The moment I stepped through the front door the day I bought it, I felt something inside me exhale finally. Something in my life was solid, real, and wholly mine. Every wall held a memory of the double shifts I worked. Every window gleamed with the sacrifices I made, and each tile I installed myself carried the weight of a future I dared to believe in. No one in my family celebrated the purchase. My mother simply said, "Well, at least you won't be wasting rent anymore." My father nodded once, the same way he used to when I brought home decent grades, acknowledging, but never proud. And my younger sister, Leela, didn't even pretend. "You should have waited," she said. "You always rush things." But I didn't buy the house for praise. I bought it because I was tired of feeling like a guest in my own life. For a while, things were peaceful. I built routines, quiet, steady, comforting ones. I learned which corner of the kitchen got the best morning light. I planted herbs in the backyard. I even painted one wall a deep, bold green that no one else liked, but I adored. Then my parents called one night, soft voices trembling across the phone line. They were struggling financially, emotionally, everything in between. They needed a place to stay just until they got things sorted. A few weeks, they said. I didn't hesitate. Despite everything, they were still my parents. They moved in on a chilly October morning, bringing boxes of old clothes, countless complaints about the stairs, and a strange new heaviness to the air. The few weeks quietly stretched into months. My mother began reorganizing my kitchen for better efficiency. My father complained about the neighborhood, and somehow, slowly, the house stopped feeling like mine. Then came Leela. She arrived with 3 suitcases, a boyfriend drama, and the kind of entitlement that didn't need doors. It simply walked through them. "I'll stay here just until I figure out where to go," she announced, already dragging her luggage down the hallway. She chose the guest room with the best light, naturally. In the first few days, she gave critiques disguised as helpful suggestions. "You should paint the living room a softer color," she said, running her manicured fingers along the wall. "This couch isn't really the right style. I'd replace it." Then, tapping her lips thoughtfully, "When I get a place like this, I'll definitely redo the floors." I bit my tongue. More than once, the house felt crowded. Physically, emotionally, their voices filled every room. Arguments floated through the hallways like smoke. And each day, I watched bits of my independence slowly erode, replaced by my family's assumptions that the house was simply an extension of them. One night, while washing dishes, I overheard my mother whispering to my father, "She doesn't really need all this space. She's fine on her own, fine on my own." That was the story of my life, wasn't it? My house, my sanctuary, had become the place where I felt the least seen. But I kept telling myself it was temporary. Families help each other, families stay together, families are worth the discomfort. I didn't know yet that this was only the calm before the betrayal. I didn't know how far they were willing to go. And I certainly didn't know that soon they would try to take the very home I had built with my own hands. The betrayal didn't come suddenly. In hindsight, it crept in slowly like a shadow stretching across a room, swallowing light inch by inch. But on the day it finally revealed itself, it still felt like a strike to the chest. It was a Wednesday, the kind where the sky hung low and heavy with rain. I'd worked a long shift, the kind that left my feet aching and my brain buzzing. All I wanted was to step into my cozy living room, take a hot shower, and maybe eat leftovers straight from the container. But the moment I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. My family was sitting in the living room, not relaxed, not casually chatting, but lined up stiffly like they were waiting for a performance to begin. The lights were on, the television was off, and the air felt too still, too rehearsed. My heart dipped. "What's going on?" And my mother folded her hands in her lap. "We need to talk." Nothing good in history started with those words. My father cleared his throat and leaned forward. "Your sister has important news." Leela was practically glowing, her smile syrupy sweet. "Mark and I are getting married," she announced, flipping her hair as if she expected applause. I blinked. "Wow, okay. Congratulations." She nodded like the queen graciously accepting praise. Thanks. And since we're starting our life together, we've been looking for a place. My father took over, his voice firm. We've come to a decision about that. Decision, not question, not request. Decision. My stomach tightened. About a place for them. No, my mother said almost carefully. About the house. I frowned. My house, Dad nodded. Yes, your sister needs a stable home, somewhere to build her marriage. It's time for you to move out. I stared at them. For a moment the world went strangely quiet, like the sound had been sucked out of the room. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. You're kidding, right? Leela raised an eyebrow. Why would we joke about something this important? Mom sighed, the disappointment dripping from her voice. Honey, you've had your time here. You're single. You're independent. You don't need all this space. My pulse hammered in my ears. That doesn't change the fact that I own this house. I bought it. I paid for it. It's mine. Dad waved his hand like he was brushing away a fly. Yes, but we helped you growing up. You wouldn't be where you are without us. And your sister needs this more than you. There it was. The core truth. The golden child needed something, so they decided to take it. Leela crossed her arms. Mark already thinks it's ours, we told him. We're planning the wedding party in the backyard. My breath caught. You what? She shrugged. You'll figure things out, you always do. My parents nodded in agreement, unified in their delusion. You can move out by the end of the month, Dad said. It's only fair. Fair. The word cut deeper than anything else. I looked at the three people who were supposed to protect me, support me, love me, and there they were, trying to evict me from the home I built because my sister wanted it. My voice came out calm, dangerously calm. Okay, I said. They looked relieved, satisfied. They mistook calm for surrender. But inside, a fire had ignited. A fire fueled by hurt, disbelief, and the undeniable truth. They had forgotten who they were dealing with. They had forgotten that this house had an owner, and that owner had receipts. I slept very little that night. The memory of my parents' words, the cruel ease with which they tried to erase my years of labor, kept me awake. But anger, sharp and bright, kept me alert. Anger was better than tears. Anger was actionable. By morning, I had made a decision. I would not leave, I would not beg, I would not cower. If they thought my calm okay meant surrender, they were wrong. I had something they could not erase, evidence, proof that this house was mine, in every sense that mattered. Deeds, mortgage statements, inspection reports, receipts, hundreds of receipts from every repair, every renovation, every purchase I'd made to turn this house into a home. I gathered it all into a neat binder. Its spine cracked as I closed it, but its weight grounded me. I would face them, not with yelling or tears, but with the undeniable truth. When I entered the living room, they were already there, sitting as if they were about to lecture me again. Leela, arms crossed, smiled that self-satisfied smirk that had made my stomach twist for months, ready to discuss moving out. My father asked, the same tone as before. I sat down calmly and placed the binder on the coffee table. No, I said, I'm ready to discuss ownership. Their confusion was immediate. My mother blinked as though she hadn't heard me correctly. What do you mean? I opened the binder and began, page by page, showing them everything. Each mortgage payment, time-stamped and verified. Each receipt for repairs and upgrades, lined neatly with dates and bank statements. Each document with my signature, legally binding and undeniable. Dad's jaw clenched so tightly I thought it might crack. Leela's smug expression faltered into something darker: rage, disbelief, panic. This is impossible. Leela muttered, flipping through pages, as if the sheer act of denial could make the evidence disappear. It's not impossible, I said, my voice calm but firm. This is reality. Every document here proves that I own this house. I have a legal, moral, and financial right to live here. None of you can change that. Mom's face turned pale. But your sister needs this house. You need what? I interrupted, rising to my full height. Because she wants it. Because you decided her happiness is more important than my home. No, that is not how it works. Leela's hands shook. I can't believe you're doing this. You're selfish. You're ruining everything. I inhaled slowly, savoring the quiet fury that had built over months, even years. Selfish, I asked. Let's see, I fed you, housed you, let you turn my life upside down for nearly a year without complaint, and now you try to evict me. You are the selfish ones." Dad slammed his hand on the table, but the sound echoed hollowly against the truth I had laid bare. "You're being unreasonable." "No," I said, closing the binder gently. "I'm being honest. I'm giving you a choice. Leave willingly, or you will leave by the deadline I set. But this house, this life I built with my own hands, is mine, and I will not surrender it." For a long moment the room was silent. No one moved, no one spoke. Finally, Leela stormed out, yelling curses over her shoulder. My parents remained, stunned and defeated. I felt no joy in their humiliation, only clarity, only power reclaimed. I had been patient for too long. I had been gentle, forgiving, and trusting, but now the scales had shifted. Now they would understand that my home, my life, my efforts were not negotiable. And as I closed the binder and set it on the table like a shield, I realized the sweetest revenge is not anger or destruction. It is truth. And the truth had always been mine. The house felt quiet again, truly quiet. Not the temporary silence of my parents' visits, not the uneasy stillness of Leela's complaints, but the calm of a home reclaimed. I walked through each room slowly, touching walls I had painted, floors I had refinished, windows I had cleaned myself. Everything was mine. Finally, it all felt like mine. The week passed quickly. My parents packed and left without resistance, their faces pale and tight, shadows of pride and entitlement finally broken. Leela didn't speak to me again, at least not in person. Rumors of their frustration reached me through mutual acquaintances, and I didn't care. I didn't need to. I changed the locks immediately, not out of spite but necessity. I needed to feel safe in my sanctuary again. Every key turned in the lock was a small celebration, a quiet reclaiming of what I had earned. The house had been threatened, but it had survived. And so had I. 2 months later, the world seemed smaller, simpler, less suffocating. The phone rang one evening. I hesitated, then answered. "Hi, it's your mother," she said, voice trembling. I could hear the uncertainty in her words, the guilt, the regret. I just wanted to say your sister's wedding is off. Mark left her," Mom said, her tone fragile. He said she acted entitled. I let her words hang in the air. "And you're okay, right?" she asked. I took a deep breath, feeling a weight lift from my chest. "Yes," I said simply. "I'm okay. I'm home." There was a pause on the line. Then, almost like a whisper, "Can we maybe come back? Just for a little while?" I closed my eyes. I thought of the months of tension, the quiet erosion of my boundaries, the betrayals and the manipulation. I thought of the peace I had fought so hard to reclaim. "No," I said finally, gently but firmly. "This is my home now. I'm choosing myself this time." There was a sound of disappointment on the other end, but I didn't feel guilty. For years, I had put them first, sacrificed for them, silenced myself for their comfort. Not anymore. That evening, I opened every window, letting the cool breeze sweep through the house. I lit candles on the dining table and cooked a meal just for myself, filling the air with aromas I had chosen, spices I loved, flavors that belonged to me. I wandered into the living room and sat on the couch, feeling sunlight spill across the hardwood floors. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel crowded with expectation. It felt spacious, calm, alive. It felt like freedom, and I realized something important. The home I had built wasn't just bricks and beams. It was a testament to my resilience, my perseverance, and my worth. Every decision, every sacrifice, every sleepless night had led to this moment. I smiled, not at revenge, not at my family's downfall, but at myself. I had learned that family isn't always who raises you or shares your blood. Family can be the person who refuses to let you be robbed of what is yours. Family can be yourself. The house had been threatened, tested, and nearly stolen, but it had endured, and so had I. I closed my eyes, leaning back on the couch, and whispered to the empty rooms, "I owned it, I earned it, and I will never give it up again." For the first time, I felt whole. Free, truly home.